All right, first YouTube video. This finna be a breeze. Sorry, I gotta lie to myself to get started, but I'll go ahead and say that I've been on this journey of figuring out myself for years, for about let's say 5 years now, without even realizing that I've been on this journey. However, I've always had these two questions in mind about myself. These two questions were, why do I think the way I do? And why do I feel the way I do? And you're probably wondering okay, where does that stem from? I know exactly where that stems from, and it's from how I grew up. And I grew up in a really interesting manner, to say the least. Essentially, I won't deep dive into it because it's a lot of personal things, and it brings up more questions than answers, and I'm still working through it. But essentially, it's from how I grew up. Now, the reason why I say I didn't realize I was on this journey is because I've been answering things or getting the answer to things without realizing it, and I'm now just cluing in at my big age, right? I'm 26. Technically speaking, still middle age, so don't call me old, please. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I guess the way I finally clued in that I've been trying to figure out a few things has been two topics: alter ego and sense of self. Now, alter ego kind of first started off with figuring out what the hell is ego and why the world tells you to get rid of it. And then I've been seeing other videos on YouTube, actually surprisingly starting off from the show I think Blue Lock, or the anime Blue Lock. Yes, I watch anime. Who would have thought? Actually, personally, I don't watch a lot of anime. I'm not really huge into anime like that. However, when I see a video on YouTube that has a deep dive analysis on an anime, I will watch a few minutes of it. I'll stop it, go watch the anime, come back, watch that video. Why? That's just me. I just enjoy those videos a lot because it's almost it kind of shows why anime is so interesting to me, which is exaggerated situations in life through impossible circumstances, right? Yeah, involving superpowers and stuff. Anyways, I first started off with figuring out ego, okay, and then I don't really have that figured out completely. There's more clinical studies I need to read, and also learning from people who actually have a PhD in those kind of things. And I know the perfect YouTuber to watch for that. I will, I guess, link their page in the description below. If I don't, whoops. And then next is my alter ego. So I guess, shoot, I don't even have all the information in front of me to about just say what I watched. That would be helpful. All right, so this journey in realizing that I'm actually learning something and I'm trying to develop something without realizing it at the time. We start off with these two YouTube videos. So from the YouTube channel called Rising, the title is How Blue Lock Teaches You About the Ego You Lack, and the value of ego as a whole and having it. And the other YouTube channel is called Lessons from Anime, How Ego Changed My Life, from watching the Blue Lock anime. And it was interesting to see what it is to not be so agreeable and think almost in a selfish manner, and how it is much more to your benefit. Now, the reason why I said the word agreeable is because I learned from Jordan Peterson. I know not people like him, but I watch from everybody. I don't really care who the person is that's speaking, but if I can learn a little bit of something of value, whether it's I learn something to do or not to do, I'm gonna watch it. So I learned from Jordan Peterson about being agreeable and disagreeable, and how agreeable people tend to care about the other person's result to the point where they will allow it to be they receive 40%, and the person that they're trying to gain from will just get the 60%, right? Whereas someone that's disagreeable or less agreeable will be the furthest I'll ever go is 50-50, but then I'd rather have more than you because it benefits me more. I'm more worried about myself. So that's essentially where I guess it's kind of all led me to. And then from deep diving into ego, which I will go into more detail about that in the future, because there's another YouTube channel, I completely forgot the name, but it's this lady that has a PhD in psychology, and she goes into like how ego shouldn't be removed or taken away, but should be transformed. And she went to the idea of like essentially naming your ego, giving it almost like a second, like making it like another sense of self, right? So it's like another person where like, yeah, you have those thoughts, so now like you recognize you have those thoughts, like those like egotistical thoughts, and it's like, okay, cool, now what do I do with that information, right? And so it's like almost like you're watching yourself, right? And then because of that, those videos I kind of like briefly went over, I somehow stumbled onto alter egos, right? So I watched this video from Tina Huang, hopefully I got her name correctly, that's her YouTube channel. The title is How to Reach Your Full Potential, right? And again, this is to highlight how like it doesn't matter who's telling me the information. Like I have no relation to, or nothing relatable to like an Asian girl who is, you know, I guess doing her own brand and like working on like social media influencing. Like I don't have any relation to that, but then because she has the information I need, I'm gonna glean from it, right? So whether that was relevant or not, I said it. I said what I said. All right, so she went into the whole idea of alter egos, and she brought up Beyonce and Sasha Fierce, and then she also brought up Kobe and Black Mamba. Now, if you don't know this, Sasha Fierce is Beyonce's alter ego, and Black Mamba is Kobe, rest in peace Kobe, Kobe's alter ego. And those were alter egos that they like personified and brought to life in the event of when they had to perform, right? Because Beyonce, she attributed herself to like, that's her, like her personal life, and that was her when she would you know, like I guess like remember when Beyonce was, you know, singing like Christian songs in the choir and everything like that, that's Beyonce. But on stage, that was Sasha Fierce, right? Sasha Fierce is the one that was out here all about her bringing that energy, was that performer, and she tapped into that when she had to perform, and she had to develop that over the years. And of course, she had that moment where she I think either wrote a book or like did like a documentary, something like that, where she said, I am Sasha Fierce. Like she finally adopted that is me. It's not like another sense of self, that is me in the times of like when I perform. Like it's no different to who I am. Same with Kobe Bryant. He had Black Mamba. So Kobe Bryant is him who has his personal values, you know, his morals, where he's like compassionate, empathetic, whatever the case may be, especially with like family and friends. But then on the court, it didn't matter if he was just practicing or if he was playing a game. On the court, that was Black Mamba, right? That was when he was dominating and fierce. And then, of course, Tina Huang goes into the whole idea of like how to create that alter ego, right? And what it requires. And I didn't realize, I really didn't realize that I was actually already doing that, right? Y'all call me Eminence, right? My name's Eminence, and I've had the name for about like 5 years now. And at some point in time, beyond 5 years, it's been longer than 5 years, sorry. But at the 5-year mark is when I kind of essentially adopted it and said, this is me, right? So I actually took the time to legally add Eminence as my second middle name. Right, so my first name, which y'all will not find out anytime soon. My first name, that's me in my personal life. That's like my everyday me. But Eminent is who I am, let's say, I guess, online. And I'm trying to figure out where I'm gonna attribute that to. Like where is that gonna fit in exactly? And whenever I think of my future self, I think in terms of like, who is Eminence gonna be? Right? My future peak self, the energy I wanna have, the body I wanna have, the look, my hair, let's say my level of confidence, all that other stuff, like all these different things. I think in terms of like Eminence, I don't know why, it just works better that way. Now, what happened is for me to like really stumble upon this, okay, so I was gonna watch this video by Jaded on Jujutsu Kaisen, the anime that teaches you, and it's like the title is Jujutsu Kaisen teaches you the opposite. I was like, that's such a vague title. I gotta see what this is about. So I went out, checked it out, and the thumbnail says you need to be selfish, right? Which was also kind of leaning towards the whole ego thing. was like, okay, cool. I tend to be a very agreeable person, right? Like, first name me, so let's say the letter K. K is very agreeable, empathetic, and in a one-on-one situation, like, he's just always there for you and putting himself out there for you. Now, Eminence, on the other hand, that's when I'm more, I guess, selfish. It's all about me, super confident, like, it's just my benefit beyond everybody else's. Now I'm trying to like I guess I find a balance between the two in a sense, or maybe I'm not supposed to find a balance, I'm not too sure. I'm trying to like figure out how do I work in between these two senses of self. Now, of course, these anime analysis videos are my favorite. I watch like the first 5 minutes, I go and I watch the anime. So I caught up to the anime, and I didn't watch it this whole entire time. I'm not a big fan of watching what's popular, but until I saw this video, I'm like, okay, now I gotta watch it. So I went and watched it. I caught up with it. Now I'm on season 2, the latest episode, and then I watched the video and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm learning about the whole domain expansion thing and how that, kind of relates. Now, the idea of when your back is pushed against the wall, having to bet on yourself against all odds in that situation to win. And the strongest people in that anime, they bet on themselves each and every time, and they find a new sense of self, a higher sense of self. And there's one character who finally did that, and they achieved the ability domain expansion, which is like when you create your own space, your own world, and you make the rules. You are the most dominant figure in that space. You are the strongest in that space, and you're supposed to be anyway. And it's like an automatic win. Right, when you do this, right, it's like your trump card, right? Now, of course, they don't always automatically go into domain expansions and then like use that to win. They'll like fight normally, and then if they need to, they'll tap into that. Now, if like the person that they're fighting has like a stronger domain or a stronger sense of self, essentially, their domain will be stronger and will shatter theirs. It will break their world, right? So that idea of like who's a more dominant figure. Now, where that led me to afterwards was like, okay, how do I know myself, right? Like, what does that sense of self mean? And I stumbled on the next YouTube video, which was Psych2Go, 8 signs you have a weak sense of self, right? Now, I was like, okay, I don't really want to see how weak I am. That's embarrassing enough. I'd rather see how strong I am and work on my strengths. But I said, you know what? I need to put that mindset away. And once I do, I'll be able to move into like a next level, right? So the 8 signs I ended up watching about, I'm not gonna lie, I forgot already. But it relates to, self-confidence, how you perceive yourself. Are you having the ability to say no? All that kind of stuff. It's like things that we already know. Shows like us, a weak sense of self, but like I just need to see it put into words. Now I followed that and I was like, okay, cool. How do I figure out myself then? How do I know myself? And then I led to Jordan Peterson, How to Know Yourself, by the YouTube channel Word to the Wise. I think they just do like compilations of like Jordan Peterson stuff and like motivational stuff, and I found that one. And I watched that, and essentially he came up with a line, but this line I'm gonna mix it with everything I've learned thus far from everything, and I'll relate it back to like what I've learned so far and like the journey I'm on. So, and again, this is all just to say like this is what I watched to find out, I'm actually doing things and learning things and applying things without even realizing that I'm doing it. And I've been on this journey for a really long time, and I'm finally I guess at my age, I like to say I'm a big age, but I'm gonna say my young age now. At my young age, I'm finally figuring out, okay, cool, this is what I'm doing. Now let's keep on going. And that's what led me to even do this video in the first place. I didn't know what I was gonna do for videos on my YouTube channel. I just knew I need to have one. And finally I'm here. So the line goes like this, and I kind of made this up myself. So essentially it's know thyself. Watch yourself as if you don't know who you are. And then challenge yourself continually to see how far you push yourself today and hope to push yourself tomorrow compared to yesterday. thus achieving domain expansion of your skills, abilities, and overall competence, and also the ability to increase your skills, abilities, and overall competence. Now, the reason why that Jordan Peterson video hit was because he mentioned the words, what he said in his words, expanding your domain, which is again just domain expansion. I was like, oh snap, hold up. And I went back and I was listening to his words again. I'm like, oh, it's kind of like clicking now, right? So I'm going to break it down essentially. So know thyself comes from Socrates, right? Which is like the sum of all his philosophical commandments that he has observed. And then of course, Aristotle follows up saying like knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom, right? And then essentially watching yourself as if you don't know who you are. That was part of the whole breakdown of how to figure out like your lack of ego, and also the beginning of, building an alter ego, right? That idea of like that third party perspective of watching what you do and questioning yourself why you do what you do, right? And I've been doing that slowly, but not enough, right? Which is what actually led me to do something a little bit more different today. I've done this many times before, but then I felt like this time I did it with a purpose, which was I woke up and made my bed. But then the reason why it felt more different was because I woke up, it was like, why do I do the things I do, right? Which was like get up, get on my iPad, check out like notifications, stuff like that. Well, to make me feel good and do better. And I knew making my bed would be a good start, right? And of course, that good start has led me to this point in time where I'm making this video to begin with. So it's just been a nice domino effect, right? And of course, for me to even watch these videos, I watch the videos when I am fixing up my room. So me making my bed had me watch these videos of where I'm listening as I'm fixing up my room, and I'm discovering things about myself to the point where I'm like, okay, I gotta do something about it, and then boom, here I'm recording a video. It's such a weird experience. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of crazy to see myself do all this, but anyways, this is just the beginning, so we'll see how this goes. And of course, it says challenge yourself continually, right? To see how far you can push yourself today and hope to push yourself tomorrow compared to yesterday, which was essentially in the whole Jujutsu Kaisen thing of expanding your domain, right? Is through the idea of like betting on yourself and your abilities, comparing yourself to the person you were yesterday, right? So unless you do that, if you're constantly comparing yourself to other people, you won't get anywhere. You'll just be stagnant. And I do that all the time. Your parents might do that to you all the time. I know my parents did. And it just will stagnate you. Like it doesn't do you any good. But when you compare yourself to yourself, especially the one of yesterday, you will look to better yourself and do something a little bit more different than what you did yesterday. Or continue to do those good things you did yesterday, right? The next part is thus achieving domain expansion, my twist on the words, of your skills, abilities, and overall competence. And then the ability to increase your skills, abilities, and overall competence, right? Because when you are able to know yourself and know exactly what your interests are, what your value is, etc., right? You can further see your potential and where you can head towards, right? And then it also applies to like your space or your domain. Like when you create a space, or let's say, I guess even your energy, right? Which is a mix of like both. When you have that energy set where it's like you're always in your strong values of your world and you are in full control of the cases, right? When you achieve that, there's just so much more for you to grow into. So now I'm on a journey of, okay, I know I have a few interests here and there. I can't exactly put into words, right? I have a few hobbies maybe. In terms of one, I'm trying to figure out like what I like to do for fun, because I do things to relax, to get more work done. So I like to do things that help me relax, and then when I'm relaxed, I can go do more work. But I don't know what I do for fun, I need to figure that out. And then there's also, of course, figuring out like a space of mine that I feel like is mine, and I can make the rules. And when people come into my space, they follow my rules. They follow essentially how my values. Like they can't have their way. They can't put me down. They can't just walk all over me. Like this is my space, right? Which will, I guess, be in a sense like my home, right? Right now, currently, it's my room, right? My room is my domain, which is a very small domain, right? A very small domain. I like to expand that to my home. And then at some point, well, hopefully if I ever get to a place where where I'm famous, and yes, I do want to be famous for what I do, that would be like my city, right? And then of course my goal in life, such a ridiculous goal, but my goal in life is to provide opportunities to others, right? And the best way to do that is essentially by building the foundations of a city. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I just can't let that go. Building the foundations of a city back home in my country. I'm not born there, but my parents are from there, which is Ghana. Doing that would expand my domain from city to a nation, right? And then essentially when I'm in such a huge domain, I'm just the pinnacle of myself constantly, right? And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. That's why celebrities, wherever they go, they just have that strong sense of self. Well, from what we can see, it looks like that, but of course, we know a lot of celebrities have a lot of like mental health issues, and like they go through things as well. They're human as well, but like it just looks like they can go anywhere and have a strong sense of self, right? Me personally, I can't do that just yet, but I know I'll get there. That's the goal, right? So that's kind of been what's been on my mind. I just knew that like I had a lot of information that I was gathering, and it was just almost overwhelming from watching all these videos. I was like, I need to do something with this, and I figured, okay, well, I'll just share my thoughts. And yeah, this is, I guess, just the beginning. And hopefully with my newfound self-awareness of me gaining that sense of self and making it stronger, and getting bolder with it, of course working on my alter ego and tapping into it and putting myself out there, I will achieve a higher sense of self and achieve my goals and manifest things that are important to me. And I know the things that are important to me are actually very selfless. Surprisingly, it's going to be a very selfless result, because I know myself in that regard. Like, I can't just do things for myself. It has to affect others around me in a positive way that we're all winning, right? Anyways, a lot was said, but hopefully that made sense. If it didn't make sense and you have any questions, go ahead and leave in the comments below. Feel free to subscribe. I was going to say follow. Feel free to subscribe and tune in for more. Anyways, with that being said, y'all have a wonderful day. Take care and talk to you soon. Peace.